It's a bird. It's a plane. It's a podcast coming right at you. That's right, it's Release Date Rewind, a show about movie anniversaries that's available for free on podcast apps and YouTube. I'm your host, Mark J. Parker. I'm a filmmaker and a film lover, just like you. Don't forget to leave a rating or a thumbs up or whatever on the app that you're using to listen to this. Thank you for joining me. And in this episode, we are continuing our March thrills and kills. But we're moving from Blue Bay, Florida, last episode, to Bodega Bay, California. Goodbye, alligators, and hello, birds. Yes, we are celebrating the 60th anniversary of Hitchcock's eco-horror film, The Birds, which came to U.S. theaters on March 28th, 1963, and made Tippi Hedren a movie star, even though she barely survived filming. If you haven't seen this, or you need to rewatch, I recommend you do that because we are about to give everything away, so it's currently available on Peacock, and it still looks great. All right, students, run for your lives because it's time to rewind. All right, everybody, it is a milestone episode for this podcast that celebrates milestone anniversaries. It's my 50th episode, so it's only fitting to go back to the start with a guest who was in my first episode talking about a Hitchcock movie. Everybody, welcome back, Jeff Bugajski.
Hello, everybody. Is it the 50th?
This is the 50th episode. Yep, I know. Isn't that crazy? Because as you remember, but way back in the day when you were my very first guest, Jeff, we would talk about two movies in one. But it was a little like too fast, and like I just thought, you know what, let it breathe a bit. We'll just talk about one movie, each time. Still 2 movies a month, which we'll see. I mean, sometimes I'm like, oh my god, I'm so exhausted, I can't do another episode. But this way we at least let the movies breathe, and we have more time together. But yeah, you're back, and of course, listeners, if you just listened to our last one, all about Wild Things. Jeff was in that one as well. Such a fun episode. Thank you for that. And honestly, our discussion of Wild Things made me want to watch it yet again. Like, it was so much fun for me. So thank you.
Exactly. I know. I can't do it though. Tariq won't let me. I don't think he'll let me watch it unless it's like another year from now.
Yeah, he's like, please, God, spread them out, space it out. But I don't. It's rare when after I talk about a movie or something for the show. I mean, obviously, I love them all, but it's rare for me to like want to dive back in so quickly. But something about that one, I don't know. I'm just like letting my freak flag fly, and I just want to jump back into it, like watch with the deleted scenes because I know that's like in a 4K Blu-ray or something out there. So anyway, So if you haven't listened, check out our Wild Things discussion. That was last week. But now we are getting into The Birds. But before The Birds, before we rewind back to 1963, Jeff, when you were last here last week, you were getting ready to do the half marathon. You did it. Congrats.
I did it. Yes, thank you.
Tell us, how was it? Was it painful? Was it horrible? Was it amazing? Tell me everything.
Yeah, I'll tell you some brief stories. Yeah, like it was very cold. It's probably the coldest race or coldest I've ever run by choice.
God.
It was probably like 30 degrees. It was, of course, started in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
But the one thing, of course, I'm very excited. I got there on time and everything. But what happened is after I had my whole playlist ready to go, first song was Ready for It by Taylor Swift.
Nice.
And immediately after that song played, I heard my earbuds.
Oh no!
Died. So I'm like, oh my god! I'm gonna do 12 miles with no music.
Oh my god!
So I did freak out a little bit, but it's funny. You realize once you're in that moment with everybody around and you're seeing all the sights, you don't really need music. So I chilled out. I got through it. But I heard one guy, he like ran by me and he had his phone on his arm, and that when you did blaring, I'm like, well, I can do that too, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna be upset unless they have the same pace as me. So
right.
But yeah, I finished. I did it in 2 hours and 1 minute, which was quicker than 4 years ago. Yeah.
Good
So
for you, because you were saying you thought you were going to be slower than the last time you ran.
Exactly. I
You were
thought it was
faster.
like, oh, yeah.
Because what was your previous time? Do you remember?
2 hours and 6 minutes.
Oh, wow. You beat it just by about 5 minutes. Oh, my gosh. Good for you. Because I know you were saying you weren't really like training too hard, right? Like you kind of were.
Yeah, I was kind of half assing it a little bit. I'll give it a better term. But no, it was a great day. And then we came home and the kids, Tariq and the kids were there to cheer me on.
Yes, that video is so much fun. I love that. And now I understand the AirPod thing, because I feel like in the video you're like, here, take them.
Take them. I don't need them. And I didn't want to take them out because I'm like, of course I'll lose them. You know, like,
right.
Just thinking about all the things that could go wrong. But no, the best part about the race was actually running on the Manhattan Bridge and then running through Times Square. That was really cool.
Fun. That's got to be so cool. And one benefit of not having music playing in your ears is it was probably cool hearing, the crowds along the way, like cheering for you, right?
Yeah, no, that was definitely, I would probably do that again. I just know running by yourself, I think is terrible without music, but in a race like that, I think it was perfect actually.
That's so funny. I know I have one of those for my AirPods and my phone. I have like, I don't even know what it's called, but I got it a long time ago. Like it's like something where you just rest your phone on it. You don't have to plug it in, but I learned the hard way a few times. You got to really make sure it's charging, because sometimes when you just put it on it, it's not like syncing correctly.
Right. So, yeah, no. Well, I don't want everyone to think that I was not prepared. Actually, they were charged, but it was cold. It was so cold that they went dead. Because when I got home, I was like, let me just, how you next to your phone and it shows you how much energy or power they have, and it was at 75% or 90%. So I think it was just too
my
cold.
Gosh, it just was so cold. Oh my gosh. Well, that's like when it's so hot in the sun in the summer, your phone's like, take this phone out of the sun or it's gonna explode, right?
Right. It is too hot.
Now, what did you do after the half marathon? Did you like have a big meal?
We came home and opened up 2 bottles of champagne and had some
mimosas. I love that. And very fitting for Wild Things. So there you go. You're keeping the champagne theme going. Good.
Right. It's great. But yeah, we kept our clothes on, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The sequel's a little less, explicit. They're all older now. So. But no, that's so awesome, Jeff. Good for you. And I'm so happy the kids got to see you and cheer you on. I'm sure they were so excited, right? I hope.
Yeah, they're like, what is Baba doing? What is they call me Baba. So like, what is Baba? Why is Baba, you're winning? I'm like, yes, I'm winning. I'm winning the race.
Oh, I love it. Good for you. Well, that's awesome. Well, I definitely wanted to check in with you on that because, it was kind of like a cliffhanger. Last time it was like
will he survive?
Yes. Will he actually be back for the next episode? We will see. And he's here. He made it. Now let's rewind. Let's ignore all the cool stuff we're doing today. Let's go back a long time ago before you and I were born.
Exactly.
Let's go back to 1963, 60 years ago, the 60th anniversary of The Birds. Wow. March 28th. A little springtime horror thriller. I always like a nice springtime horror. We were just talking about Scream 6, and it's always fun when you got a good thrill in as the start of spring, as things are heating up. So let me set the scene for you, Jeff. I'm going to tell you just a few quick little things, what was going on at this time, some fun facts. On the news side, JFK was our president, our youngest U.S. president, and then of course sadly he was assassinated later this year, so he wasn't our president for long. On the music side, Walk Like a Man by the Four Seasons was the #1 song. I thought that was funny.
My gosh.
A man. Right? Frankie Valli. On the TV side, The Jetsons had just come to an end. I guess it was just like a 1-season wonder on ABC, but later it was revived in the 80s for a few seasons. But it had just come to an end, and I thought this was kind of fun. It was the first program in color on ABC. I guess a lot of stations still could not air in color. So this was the first one. So that had just come to an end. And get this, General Hospital was about to premiere on TV, April 1st, 1963. And I don't know, is it still, I think it's still on. Am I right? Do you know?
I don't know. I think that was one of those we were a All My Children family. So we didn't. Yeah,
All My Children was a big one. General Hospital, I feel like it's still on, but I could be wrong. I'll delete this if I'm wrong because I don't want any haters out there going after me. The soap fans, if they hear a title whisper in the wind, they're like, I have to be very careful.
They're like Swifties. They have to be correct all the time.
They were the original Swifties. They're the general Hospies. I don't know. And then on the movie side, of course, The Birds was a big hit, very popular. But before that, another popular movie that came out just a few weeks prior was How the West Was Won. That was a big deal at this time. Never saw it, but I know, I know the title. But so, Jeff, I'm going to throw it over to you. Tell me in your own words, for anyone out there who doesn't know what The Birds is about, it's pretty self-explanatory, but give me your own little short, synopsis, a little summary of The Birds. What is it about?
Well, The Birds is about a woman named Melanie Daniels who has no job, right? She's like this, not debutante. What do you call her?
She's like a socialite. She made me feel like kind of like a 60s Paris Hilton or something.
Right. Yeah, so she meets a gentleman at a pet store, and she kind of feels all the feels for him, and basically chases him to where he lives, finds out where he lives, drives down the south coast to find him, and to deliver these lovebirds. And she thinks she's gonna have a nice little rendezvous with him, but little does she know that there are these birds that are about to just come slamming down on Bodega Bay.
Oh my God. And they do slam. They're banging into things, poking their heads in things. Yes.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, it's about her and her interactions with, what is his name? Mitch? Yeah, Mitch.
Which he looks like such a Mitch. He's like the iconic Mitch, right?
Yeah. And his family, they're around, and basically, they're just getting wham bam thank you ma'am by these birds everywhere they go.
And this was not the wham bam thank you ma'am that Melanie wanted. She was going for a different kind of adventure here. It's so funny because I hadn't rewatched this in quite a while. It's been a long time. Although of course this movie just lingers in mind for most people, right? That's so memorable. But I completely forgot. Yeah, she's going after this guy. Like, she wants him bad. But like, why do you think? Because at first I'm like, man, this girl must just not be happy with any of the guys in her life. She sees Mitch. She wants him right away. She's got to follow him 2 hours north. She's looking around. She's going to the store. Do you know Mitch? Where is this guy Mitch? I need that D, she basically wants. But then I'm thinking, oh, is it also like a bit of like a bit of a guilt thing? Because as we know, when she first meets him in that pet store, he does. We learn that like he met her or he didn't meet her, but he saw her in court. He's a lawyer, right? He saw her in court, and she's gotten in trouble doing different things. She's in the gossip, magazines or newspapers, page 6, totally like doing bad stuff. I guess she did a prank and broke something, and he thinks she should be behind bars. So do you think, Jeff, on this latest rewatch, when you saw it, do you feel like she is also driving to Bodega Bay to kind of like, not only because she likes him, but because she kind of wants to like do good? She knows that like he actually thinks what she did was bad, whatever it was. We don't know the details, some prank, does she kind of want to make it up to him and kind of let him know that she actually does have a conscience? Or am I reading too much into it and it's not that deep?
I think, you might be. Yeah, I never thought about it. Never thought about that. Like it's kind of like she's redeeming herself kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Is it a redemption thing? She wants to like, because especially once she's there, she really, she remembers that he wants to get these lovebirds,
right?
Which I never knew lovebirds are green, or are lovebirds any birds?
There's different colors. Yeah, I actually had a lovebird. I had one lovebird growing up, which you're not supposed to have just one, but that's a long story.
Oh wow! Oh my gosh, be careful! I'm worried about you. I don't want some bird curse. That's funny. Of course, I love that you had a lovebird. This makes this guest appearance even more special.
The thing is, I don't have a ticket stub because I wasn't alive when when that movie came out. So at least I have a definite feeling for this movie. Because of lovebirds.
Oh my God. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, I was hoping you would show me your ticket stub, but that's not possible. You'd have to show a parent's stub or something.
Right. I'm 75 years old.
Take off the mask. Yeah.
I never thought about that. It could be.
It's a new thing that I literally thought of today. I'm like, is she going up there because she knows that he wants to get these lovebirds for his sister, which, Jeff, we need to talk about. He has an 11-year-old sister? Seems
Well,
like his parents, had a little surprise,
right.
maybe, right?
Right. Well, I love the fact that I probably saw Alien before
Hmm.
I saw the Birds,
Yep.
and I remember watching the Birds. I cannot tell you when I saw this movie for the first time, probably
Yeah.
in college or something. But I remember I'm like, oh my god, is that the woman from Aliens or Flight of the Navigator? And I, of course, like, do you remember that movie?
Oh,
Remember Flight of the Navigator?
I don't know if I've seen Flight
It's
of the Navigator. Who else is in that?
I think Sarah Jessica Parker is
Oh,
in it.
no, I haven't seen that. I've heard of it. I know the
Oh my
title.
gosh, it was
Oh,
one of those '80s movies that like just resonated with me. So it's sci-fi. It's like a little bit ET-ish,
okay. Yep.
But she was in that movie. So I'm like,
Okay.
this girl's face is so.
Yes, she has
I,
such a memorable face, right?
yeah, I
Those
wasn't gonna say
eyes.
it's not iconic. It's not an iconic face, but like
Well,
just.
it could be. I mean, it's funny. I don't know her from Flight of the Navigator, but of course I know
Mhm,
her from Alien, like you, and I know her from
mhm.
The Witches of Eastwick. She's really screaming and
Oh,
crying in The
oh,
Witches
that's
of
right.
Eastwick.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
she's more
yeah,
supporting. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Wow. But
she's got some good horror sci-fi cred for sure.
mhm,
Veronica Cartwright. Yeah, it's fun
mhm.
to see her as a kid. Her face, yeah, has looked the same. It's amazing.
Those teeth. It's the teeth.
Yes. And maybe also because in so many of these famous movies she's been in, she's crying and
Yeah,
screaming that it's like,
she's
yeah,
always a crazy. She's always playing, yeah, like
yes, slightly
an
unhinged,
insane,
right?
unhinged. Perfect.
Yes. Uh-huh. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's his little sister Kathy, but people think it's Alice. It's what did I write? The shop owner's
Mm.
like I'm pretty sure her name's Alice, and then it's like no, it's like Lisa or something, and
Right.
then no, it's Kathy. Oh no, Lois, Alice or Lois, and then Kathy. So there you
Yeah.
go. But yeah, I'm like, okay, you have an 11-year-old sister. That is a twist that we did not really get much backstory about. But okay. I'll let it
Right.
slide, because
Well,
Rod Taylor,
Jessica Tandy, right?
Jessica Tandy, absolutely driving Miss Daisy is Lydia, the mom, who's got
Mm.
such an icy
Oh,
glare. Oh my gosh, we're going to talk about all of the stares in this movie because so many people are
I can't wait.
they are just acting with their eyes. Tyra Banks would be so proud. They are smizing, they are glaring, they are all sorts of things. But yeah, Rod Taylor plays
Yeah.
Mitch, and I looked up his and Tippi Hedren's ages, and they were both 33, which I just feel like that's kind of always rare when the leads are the same age. But I'm like, wow, that guy's
Right.
33. And we were just talking about how Matt Dillon was around 33 when he made Wild Things, and I'm like, he seems older to me. Sorry, but Rod Taylor definitely seems older than 33. What do you think?
Oh, yeah. I thought
Right?
he could be pushing like 45. Like,
Yes, he's
if
like
he had some gray hair, I would have thought he was 50.
totally. I mean, nowadays, yeah, that guy would be, a quite a hot dilf at like 50 with
Yeah.
grays.
Yeah.
I mean, the ruggedness. So it's just funny. I mean, 60 years ago, 33 just hit different. But no, very handsome guy.
How do you do? My name is Alfred Hitchcock, and I would like to tell you about our good friends, the birds.
That's the damnedest thing I ever saw.
Birds just don't go around attacking people without no reason.
Yes, they attacked the children, attacked them.
What's the matter with all the birds?
Let me now just kind of tell you where some of these stars and people were in the beginnings of this film. And feel free, Jeff, to shout out because I'm sure you know some of this stuff as well. So in case anyone doesn't know, this is based on the short story The Birds by Daphne Du Maurier, I believe is her last name. Is that how you pronounce it?
That sounds nice. It
I
has
think
a nice
that's
ring
it.
to it.
Maurier,
Yeah.
I think, or Maurier. I don't know, but Daphne. We'll just call her Daphne because not enough people are named Daphne. So she wrote a short story. It was published in 1952. So about, what is that? 11 years prior to the movie coming out. So what's interesting, and I don't know if you had ever heard this, Jeff, but I know they were thinking about doing a remake, of course, which even though this movie is so good, I'd be open to a remake. I don't know. I think it could be something. What do you think?
Well, it's just you're talking about the remake. You heard about they want to do Vertigo, right? With
Yes.
Robert Downey Jr.
New
and it's
Vertigo.
and I have to say, like my thing about redoing Hitchcock, it's I always go back to Psycho because they tried that,
I know, which that turns 25 later this year. That was in 98 as well. Yeah.
Oh wow. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was I saw that in the theater too. So
it's tough.
It's tough, right? Like if they're gonna do it, they should not do a shot by shot remake. That I think that was like
no, that's
that was not a great choice.
Yeah.
It could be fun. I'm actually.
It's hard. I don't know because I saw Vertigo long ago. I think I actually saw it for the first and only time at an outdoor screen in like Central Park years ago. And though I love seeing movies in a park, but I feel like you can't see a movie for the first time in the park. So I kind of am my memory's a little foggy with Vertigo, which I know is terrible. I really need to watch it for real. So I don't know enough. I can't make a strong enough kind of decision about this, but it does feel a little weird to me. Like Robert Downey Jr., do you think that's good casting?
I don't know who else I haven't really thought about who could fill that role. I mean, I haven't seen him honestly because I don't watch Marvel stuff, so I haven't seen him in
He's only really done that and so
Iron Man things, right?
But yeah, I don't know. And Jeff, did you see, speaking of remakes and speaking of Daphne, she also wrote the story Rebecca, which Alfred Hitchcock did, about 20 something years before this. Did you see the Rebecca remake on Netflix with Armie Hammer? I thought that was pretty decent. What do you think? No, you didn't like it? Okay.
No, I didn't actually. No, I didn't see it. I think did that come out during the cannibalism stuff, or I don't remember.
I know, the cannibalism era. Yikes. That came out like right before it. I think, if I remember correctly. I feel like that came out, that was like his last movie before the news broke, if I remember correctly. So I remember at least watching it and not being creeped out by him. So
gotcha.
I don't think it was out just yet. Yeah. But I remember it looked very nice. I mean, it was a nice update, at least visually, than the 1940 Hitchcock version,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I totally know what you mean. Remaking Hitchcock is tricky, but something about the birds, I don't know. I could be open to it because what I was saying was, I don't know if you had heard this. This has been in the works for a long time. It's been rumored and buzzed about, but I feel like Naomi Watts, who's like the horror remake queen, she was attached to a remake of The Birds that was more closely aligned with the short story. Because the short story, I've never read it. Have you read it?
I haven't read it, no.
I'm curious. I'd like to read it sometime and maybe get it at my local library. But it's set in the UK. It's in Cornwall, where Daphne was from, shortly after the Second World War. So different time period. It's on a farm, more rural. Same sort of thing. Just lethal attacks from birds at random. No clear motive. No clear reason. So, I don't know. I think because obviously, I mean, what works so well in Hitchcock's version of the story is, I mean, we're in San Francisco, then we're in this Bodega Bay, so we get some city, we get some beautiful coastal, it's all very California, right? So it would be interesting to see a version that's maybe a little closer to the original vision of it being in Britain. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm open to seeing this again. I don't think it would be like sacrilegious, like Psycho was such a risk. I feel like the Birds remake, if they ever do one, is a little bit, less risky.
Yeah, because Psycho was. I mean, if we're talking Hitchcock, I think most people would say Psycho is probably like their number one on the list, right? So this one's kind of like maybe two or three. I think it's worth trying. Yeah, I do think it's worth trying. I'm curious. I just hope if you do, they don't. One of the things I love, I'm sure we'll talk about this in a bit, but like I love the fact that there is no explanation, and I hope that they keep that. That there's no. We don't know why they're attacking. I don't want. I love the ambiguity. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, okay. I'll tell you a little later. I saw an interesting fun fact, and maybe you did too, about Hitchcock specifically wanting it to be ambiguous. So I guess they maybe had more of a decision on why it was happening, but he wanted to cut it. Yeah. I certainly don't mind the ambiguity. I do kind of wish, because I love, and I know we're jumping around a little bit, and we'll talk more about it in a bit, but I really do love the scene in the diner, in the restaurant, where they're all talking and they're all trying to figure it out, and, you know, the cop's there, and that's, of course, the hysterical mother is there with her kids. You know, it's just such a great scene. It makes me think of The Mist from, you know, however many years ago that was, right? It's very similar, but I do love all the kind of calm hysteria and all these theories and like all that stuff that I do kind of wish, because no one, and I was watching that part closely, rewatching it this time, no one really has any clear hunch on what's going on with the birds. I know the older woman says, you know, oh, a year ago or something, like, you know, some time ago birds got lost in the fog and then were just attacking homes for just a day. And then they, you know, so there was that. But I kind of wanted just someone, I don't know, maybe it's very 80s. I wanted someone to be like, well, you know, like a couple towns over there was that toxic spill or something, you know? But, but maybe I'm just getting, maybe that's like a good 20 years later or something, you know, that would be mentioned, you know? So yeah, I think a little hint of something I would have gotten a kick out of if there was just some hunch that I heard. But yeah, I mean, it's super, super spooky how these birds just strike at random, and then they have these lulls where they're just around but not doing anything. Like it's this weird kind of timer or something that goes off, you know?
Yeah. Well, I kept, I think during this viewing, I was like, I thought to myself, is this only happening in Bodega Bay? Like, is this like are they doing it in other towns, or would they have heard like a newscast or something about it? Because it just seems like, you know, like a birdlets everywhere, you know. I don't know.
Is it super centralized or is it all over? Because apparently at the end of this short story, it becomes clear that it's all over the country. So that's a little bit more obvious here. We're really not sure. Yeah, but so of course, so this movie's inspired by the short story, and also I thought this was really interesting, Jeff. You probably saw this. It's also partly inspired by a real mass bird attack that happened on a seaside town in California in 1961, August 1961. So very, you know, soon before this film came out, this really did happen in California. I thought that was wild.
Oh my gosh. I don't think I knew that. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's was it a seaside town of Capitola, California, and residents awoke to a scene that seemed straight out of a horror movie. Hordes of seabirds were dive bombing their homes, crashing into cars, and spewing half-digested anchovies onto lawns. Now that is terrifying. That's pretty nasty. We didn't get no anchovies.
I have an old friend of mine, Corbin. I'll have to make sure he listens to this. I don't know if he can actually watch the birds because he has a legitimate fear of birds. Like I'm used to, if we were walking by and like pigeon popped out, you know, and they're everywhere, you know, he would literally like flinch and like out a scream. And you know, it's just funny to think I mean, some people do have a definite fear of birds, so
definitely
this movie is probably very triggering.
Oh, I would imagine so. Yes, I mean, I don't love pigeons and birds, you know, and the wings flapping always, you know, and I'm the kind of guy where like always when a bird is like flying overhead, I always like duck, you know, even if it's actually like a good 20 feet, I'm always like, you know, so oh yeah, and maybe this movie did that to us, you know, because I was gonna say it might be this, right? Yeah, because Psycho, you don't have to see Psycho to know the scariest, craziest twist, you know, the shower. So you don't really you haven't had to really see the birds to obviously just see a quick shot, and you're like, oh no, I get it, I understand what's going on here, you know, all the wings flapping. So yeah, sorry, Corbin, you do what you can with this episode. we won't do any sound effects. And apparently the cause for that, it did come out later. It wasn't known back in the 60s. But I guess years later, they realized the cause for the birds' behavior in Capitola, California was toxic algae. That's what I mean about the toxic sludge or whatever. Yeah. So I guess the birds were eating something and it went to their brains and like
Cocaine Bear, you know, again, everything goes back to Cocaine Bear.
You're so right. What a great connection to Cocaine Bear. Yeah, maybe the birds got into some Californian drug company And I could see that. I could see that in a post-credit scene. There you go. After the credits, we realize, it's kind of like Contagion. Remember Contagion?
Right.
So
Oh
good.
my
At
God,
the
yeah.
very end,
So
it
great.
goes in reverse, and then the bat and all that, and COVID.
All comes back to Gwyneth.
But yes, always goes back to Gwyneth. Which we gotta. Speaking of, she's having a moment.
Can we talk? This will be extra, right? This trial.
This is a bonus.
Like I can't help it. It's the funniest thing I've seen. I can't stop watching it.
My God. I am so thankful you posted that. If anyone's not following Jeff, you got to follow him on Instagram. He posted these great Saint Hoax Instagram posts, all like video of the trial. Oh my God. There were like 10 videos and I loved it.
Every one of them.
First of all, the trial itself is crazy. It's like, a guy skied into her. She thought it was sexual assault. She's screaming at him. Right. But like, it's so weird and crazy because I guess it's like a serious matter-ish, but like she's kind of laughing. The lawyer, like prosecuting her, is asking like, so you're not friends with Taylor Swift? Like totally strange. Those videos, Jeff, they are maybe more crazy than the Wild Things courtroom scene. Maybe. I don't know. Or equal to. Maybe. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is your name again? I thought it was Jennifer.
What is your name
are you
again?
kidding me?
I know. She's playing
Kristen,
it.
It's Kristen.
She's playing it like she's in a dramedy. Like she's in some sort of like faux documentary, NBC sitcom of like.
Well, I did lose a half a day of skiing.
Yes, Jeff.
What are you gonna do with that? Right?
How badly do you want to see this all of her lines? I need them lip synced on stage in a drag show. I need Drag Race next year to use this whole thing. Gwyneth needs to be the guest judge, and they need to lip sync this whole monologue. And it should be a 2-part. It should be like a 2-part scene, 2 roles where you have the prosecutor, you have Gwyneth. Please give it to me, right? This is going to live on for years in lip sync form. I hope.
I hope so. I really hope so because I just don't want them to stop. I feel like every day, it's only been a couple days, but oh, your shoes nice. I can't.
It is about the birds and their age-long relationship with man. It will be seen in theaters like this across the country. In my lecture, I hope to make you all aware of our good friends, the birds.
Hitchcock, of course. So Jeff, as I already said, has talked about Psycho on this show with me. His last movie was Psycho 2.5 years earlier. The Alfred Hitchcock Hour was a TV show that was currently airing. So, of course, Hitchcock had a few different TV series throughout his career. Screenwriter Evan Hunter. He had worked with Hitchcock previously. He had written Alfred Hitchcock's Mystery Magazine and worked on a previous TV show, Alfred Hitchcock Presents. So they knew each other, good partnership. Evan Hunter was told by Hitchcock to develop new characters and a more elaborate plot while keeping Daphne's title and concept, of course, of unexplained bird attacks. But yeah, all the kind of love affair and how Annie, we'll get into Annie, she's sort of in this like little love triangle-ish, all of that was Evan Hunter's doing just to flesh out, more of the story so that it's not only birds attacking, that we actually care about these people. Right? I'll just quickly talk about our 2 leads. I won't talk about every actor, but our 2 leads, Rod Taylor, who we had just mentioned, he had just come off 101 Dalmatians, the famous Disney animated movie. He was a voice in that. And The Time Machine, H.G. Wells' Time Machine. That was a big movie back in the day. And Tippi Hedren, our leading lady, our new Marion Crane, our new Janet Leigh. You know how Hitchcock loves those blondes. The screen debut, first movie. I saw on her IMDb, she had a small uncredited, maybe it was sort of an extra background player in a movie about 10 years prior, but this was her first speaking role. And what a debut, honey. Yes, Tippi. Looking amazing in the green, like stylish, what would you call that? I guess it's like a women's suit? I don't know. A skirt suit?
All I know is that it's something that I'm like 1 year for Halloween.
Yes,
I
Jeff.
want to wear that costume.
Please
and I've seen that.
You have to. You would look so good in it. All you had to say was Halloween, and I was like, yes, do it. I approve. Later this year, you're Tippi.
can't. I've seen other people's versions of it, and I'm like, oh, I just want to do it so bad.
Oh, you totally could. Get the blonde wig. It could be a little messy, and you can have like a bird on your head, right? Oh, I would love to see it. Please do it. And wear heels and have like blood on your legs and your arms and all that. Oh, so good. So good.
Can't wait.
So, do you feel like, because with Psycho, I forget the exact time. I used to know it. It's probably on our first episode. We probably mentioned it. But, Janet Leigh's big murder scene happens around like 30 minutes in, I'd say, somewhere around there. Now, this movie, we don't get the full-on terrifying like proof that these birds are murderous. When Jessica Tandy walks in on her neighbor's dead body with no eyes. Oh my God, terrifying, right? What a moment.
Kept that in there, yeah.
Oh, what a moment. And just the quick, like, kind of zoom in on his face. We don't get that until 1 hour into the movie. So, what do you think? Does it work for you, or do you kind of wish we got a little scary a little earlier? What do you think?
I think it actually works for me. Because I think, well, maybe the get into Bodega Bay, there are some like long cuts, the driving and I think the boat scenes probably could have been trimmed just a smidge, when she's going out there, and it's, it is because there's no dialogue. It feels long because for some of it, there's like no talking. It's just her and the boat rocking back and forth.
You're right.
And I love. One of my favorite scenes, though, is when she's coming back and she's like so proud of herself, and the bird just swoops and pecks her, and it's like, ooh, it's a little taste of what's to come. So it does work for me. I'm happy with the length, because then it just falls after. Well, when the mom Jessica Tandy sees the guy, that's the first time we know that they're dead, right? Or they're killers, right? They're killer birds.
Because what I wrote down was, the peck on Melanie's head in the boat, that is 25 minutes in. And then, so that's one. And they even, the women even say, basically bad things happen in threes, right? So that's 25 minutes in. The next thing was, the bird bangs into Annie's front door when the ladies are, hanging out at night. And that, I didn't write the time, but then there's that moment. And that's that's like such a fun moment. Oh my gosh. The bird bangs into the door, and he goes, "Who's that at this hour?" Opens the door. Oh, look, it's the dead bird. And Annie says, "Oh, poor thing, must have gotten lost in the dark," right? And then Melanie goes, "It isn't dark, Annie. It's a full moon." And then the camera just stays there for a while, and then we fade. But it works for me. I make fun, but it works for me because, when it's a full moon, there's a lot of light in that sky. That's one of the reasons why I love where we live in southern Maine, in Kittery, Maine. Where we are, when that moon is full, it is spooky. You see shadows at night. It is like, whoa. So, Melanie's got a point. It's just the way that, they just like freeze. Hitchcock's like, okay, say your line and then freeze, and we're not going to do anything for a full 5 seconds, and then we'll move on. So that's number 2. And then number 3 bad thing is when we know they are at least vicious, is 53 minutes in at Kathy's birthday party with all the kids playing outside, and then all of a sudden these that's when the birds start attacking, but not until 1 hour when the neighbor Dan, because I think Lydia is going to Dan's house because they're chickens, which we get a little hint of something.
The feed.
Yeah, the feed. They're not eating their chicken feed. Something's wrong with the feed, So that's when she goes to check on him. He hasn't called her back. And there is eyeless Dan in a messy room with dead birds. Oh my gosh, Jeff, that is so scary. That is one of my favorite moments in the movie, and maybe in just horror movies in general, is the reveal of dead Dan. I love it.
Right. They do like a zoom in, like a 1, 2, 3, right?
Yeah.
When they show his body.
Absolutely. It's not just a smooth zoom. It's like a cut zoom. It's like they're just kind of like cropping almost, right? Yes. And then Jessica, Tandy, Lydia, she can't even scream, right? She's so shook. She just drops her purse, gets the hell out of there. Oops, I'm knocking over my microphone. I'm so scared. I just love that scene so much, Jeff. And maybe I love it because it's not one that you like, when you think of the birds, you don't necessarily think of that scene right away, right? So I kind of forgot about it. And then once I realized we're there, I'm like, oh, this part, So it's a fun surprise, even if you've seen it a bunch of times,
Well, it's pretty gory. I mean, it feels gory, right?
Oh yeah, for 1963, it's pretty shocking, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe because Psycho was in black and white, and we didn't really the mummy, mother at the end, it looks almost like a fake skeleton, but that was like, oh no, is that really a man with nose?
Right. Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. But seeing the blood in color this time, because in Psycho it's all black and white, and honestly there really is very little blood. It's the blood in the shower, but it's watery, so it's not as like visceral. And you see Arbogast, the cop, get slashed in the face, which is pretty shocking. But here we are seeing like wounds. We are seeing bloody wounds, gouged eyes. Oh my gosh. And you know what else makes that so scary? And I never realized it in my multiple times watching this movie. I realized it on this latest rewatch, Jeff, and I think it is brilliant. There's no music, no score, right? I'm pretty sure throughout the whole movie there is no music, whereas in Psycho, I mean, the music is what do they say? Like, the city is the fifth character in Sex and the City. In Psycho, the music is the fifth character in Psycho, right? So, like, that's just such a big deal. But in The Birds, there's no music. It's all just ambient sound or no sound at all, right?
Or squawking or like a motorboat or,
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's why, speaking of the motorboat sound, I think that's why you were saying, some of the boat stuff, we're really there every second of the way, because there's no music at least to sort of entertain us. We're just hearing that motor, looking at Tippi, looking at the house. So there's a little bit of that. I think it could be trimmed down because this movie is longer than Psycho. I looked it up. I think it's about 10 minutes longer. And at times, I think it all works for me. I enjoy the very rom-com beginning. It's very, screwball rom-com vibe from the olden days. And I guess Hitchcock wanted that. He and the screenwriter Evan Hunter wanted to kind of do a twist halfway through, I guess, which it works, going from pretty light, we want to see if this couple makes it, if they become a couple, and then all of a sudden, whoa, now we have some real issues. So yeah, but some of that stuff could be trimmed a touch, I think. Pardon the interruption, listeners, but after you're finished with this episode, you can now watch my new short horror film, Your Last Summer, on YouTube and Vimeo. I wrote, directed, produced, and edited this fan film sequel, which follows the events of the original movie we love, I Know What You Did Last Summer.
This came in the mail at my parents' house the other day. No return address. I know. It came the day after we drove around. Oh, shit. Someone saw us.
It's 25 years later in Southport, North Carolina, and a new character receives an ominous note from someone who knows his secret.
The day after we hook up the first time in a while, you get this? Who could it be? Maybe Bridget or Reese. They almost caught us that one time last summer.
It's queer, it's creepy, it's out now.
Thousands of years ago, man was satisfied merely to steal an egg from a nest and use it for food. Now he has perfected this process by imprisoning each hen in a separate cage and by scientifically manipulating the lights so that she doesn't fall into the rut of the old 24-hour day. Thus, he can induce the bird to reach fantastic heights of egg production.
I do love when she gets pelted by the bird and then she's all like, oh, what was me? I love the gas station scene where it blows up.
Yeah. Oh my God,
and I love the cut up, like they like, like they're all looking and her mouth is open, but like you can tell the camera's still like they could move, like they're playing mannequin, but
yes. It comes off so goofy. Right.
Yeah. It's a little because it's almost like someone's looking, and they're supposed to keep looking forward with their mouth open. But I love the gas station scene because you're following the gasoline line, right? And then you're watching, go piece by piece by piece. Like, oh my God, something's gonna happen. Of course, I love the crazy lady scene.
My gosh.
You're the cause of all this, it's you, and then she gets slapped. I just love that.
The slaps are the unofficial theme of March with Wild Things and the Birds. I mean, it's pretty perfect. But let's talk about that scene because I love that you posted it, Jeff. It's so spooky because that woman who I don't think we we get a name from her. She's just sort of like, I looked on IMDb, I think she's just called hysterical mother. She's looking right into the camera. She's got tears in her eyes. This is after the blow up, those explosions, that chaos, right? That iconic, and it's so clever before that scene. It is so clever to put Tippi Hedren in a phone booth because she's surrounded by glass so we can see everything. She's contained in this little room. The birds are breaking the glass. There's like a horse and buggy or whatever, like falling over. Like, it is chaos, honey, right? And then Mitch is able to help her get back in the restaurant. But now, before this mom, who we knew earlier did not like the conversation happening. You're scaring the children. We know she's on edge, right? And she wants to get out of there. Now, the guy with the cigar, is that the same guy who is going to give the mom and her kids a ride? I think that's the same actor. Is that right?
I think so. I think I think you're right. Yeah.
They don't make it like super obvious, but I'm pretty sure that's him because he was just in the restaurant with them. But so he's gone, everyone's gone. But when our two leads go back into the restaurant, they kind of like look, it's a little weird. What do you make of it? They kind of like, it's very quiet. They look around the corner and like all the women are in the hallway and they're all kind of turned away, and then they all slowly turn to them. What's up with that? I guess, were they hiding from the birds in there, just thinking like we're as safe as possible back there? Because I'm like, I almost thought, okay, is this the line for the bathroom? Like, what's going on back there? You know?
Well, I guess there's no windows in there, right? You want to stay away from all the windows.
That's
right?
true. Yeah. It was shelter, I guess. You're right.
Yeah. But there's just there, when you talked about in the mist, I will always love a scene where, because I feel like Hitchcock wanted to make her like religious, but like didn't want to go that route, you know. But like anytime there's people are in a small space, you know, there's always going to be this, like, I don't know, religious overtone of like, you know, we're being punished, you know, like we must be being punished by something. That's why all these bad things are happening. I love that they did that in the mist, and I love that they did this in the birds. And I thought like that's just, you know, Tariq and I actually, you know, whenever something bad happens, I'll say, you're the cause of all this. You know, like it's one of those like ongoing jokes that we
I love that so
you know,
much,
that we do. I mean, again, what's the expression? Rent free in your brain? Like that scene lives rent free in my brain.
I am so happy. I love that because that was another moment where, again, I didn't think of that right away with the birds. Like once you posted that, as soon as I saw her face, I'm like, oh my God, that lady. That's right. I know her. But she's not like the first thing I think of, you know? So that is so funny that you quote that. She's got such a great monologue. Oh my God. And it's just perfectly over the top. It's not too crazy. She's not camping it up like Teresa Russell. She's still, you know, pretty natural, but also it comes at such a good time because Greg didn't rewatch it with me in full, but he was sitting next to me for that moment, for the chaos, because I said, oh, quick, come over here, you're about to see the explosion. So he sat down and watched that, and then did watch a little bit of Crazy Lady monologue, and he had said, it's so funny, it comes at a perfect time, because he said, now, is this where they all kind of think like she could be a witch? And I'm like, oh my God, you're feeling it. It comes at that right time where you know, like what would naturally happen in this town. You have this blonde bombshell socialite who people do recognize, right? She is actually famous.
Right.
What? And it's like, yeah, I feel like it makes total sense for after all that craziness, the town is now in flames. I feel like, yeah, people would be like, what are you doing here? Who are you? What are you? Like, why are you here? And it's kind of embarrassing. It's like, I came here because I followed this guy. Like, I just wanted like, to impress him, you know?
It's human nature, right? To feel like, all right, what's the simplest explanation, right? I'm like, well, everything was the same until this woman showed up. So she must have brought the birds here. It must be her fault.
Totally.
You know?
Especially, and you know, earlier we were saying like, you know, Lydia, the mom, is really eyeing Melanie when she meets her. I mean, and she's kind of looking at her like I don't know if I like you. I don't, you know, you're kind of witchy. Like it's interesting, and I think it could have actually been even Suzanne Plachette, who plays Annie, really staring at her. But I kind of got a queer vibe there for a second. But then we know Annie used to date Mitch, so maybe not, or you never know. Right. But everyone stares at her in different ways. But she is the outsider. And I kind of would love if it ever is remade, a little bit more of questions from people like, so what are you doing here? Like, where did you come from? Just so that people because that's just an easy connection to make. Like, here's this strange woman, and why are these strange things happening? Meanwhile, she has no, she has nothing to do with it. Although, remind me, Jeff, why in the beginning, why is she in the pet store? Does she wants to get birds for herself, or?
I actually thought about that yesterday. I'm like, what? Because I figured we probably talk about why she's even in there.
Yeah.
She does order birds, right? And they're not going to be available till the next day.
Yeah. I guess she just wants them just for fun. There's no real meaning. Because I was watching it, I know she's talking to the older lady, but I can't remember like what really brought her in there. I guess it's just to show she's just like any normal person. She just wants to get a pet bird or birds.
Oh wait,
or
I'm confused because she calls at the end of that whole interaction, and that's when she's told that the birds will be ready in a day or two. So I guess she's just hanging around.
Right. Those are the birds that she orders for Mitch, right? The lovebirds. Yes.
Right.
When she's on the phone with the Daily News, which her dad runs, right?
Right.
Yes.
Birds are not aggressive creatures, miss. They bring beauty into the world.
Those gulls attack.
Impossible.
They came in right down the chimney.
Why are they doing things?
And then I love how after Melanie slaps her, then she just sort of like crumples and like turns to Mitch, and he just sort of holds her. But like she just does this kind of like, oh, I'm exhausted kind of vibe from that, It's great. It's great.
Another scene is, let's see, is the actual scene where she goes upstairs at the very end where she gets really assaulted by and it's like, not that I think it's funny, but I'm like, girl, why are you going upstairs to begin with? Why
I know
are you like, ooh, I'll go check it out, let's see what's scary upstairs. And she opens up the door and then she sees the birds, and of course I love the fact that like she can't get out, like all she has to do is like pull the door, but
I know
there's
it's
so
kind of brilliant.
And
it's funny. It's sort of accidentally funny, but it's also kind of brilliant. Like she didn't walk very far into the room, but she literally can't. No. She just can't get it open wide enough because she keeps being like pelted by these birds, right? And then when she falls after they've been pecking her so much, which I'm like, wow, well, she's lucky her eyes weren't pecked out like good old Dan. When she falls, right? And I mean, that scene is so good. Well, first of all, I'm getting ahead of ourselves. Let's just like walk through that moment, okay? So we know they're back home. The main core family is back home. Annie has died. That's a scary sight to see when her body's just like on her steps. Very Scream 5 with spoiler.
Right.
But so we know she's gone, but so the main core family's back home. The birds have attacked. They were breaking the windows and hurting Mitch's hand. They're pecking through the door, which is super spooky. I love that shot. That's scary. And then after some chaos, poor Mitch is doing all the work. The ladies are just sort of like hiding. Melanie's sort of just like up against walls, moving around slowly. I'm like, at least help get him something. I don't know.
Get a nail or something, right?
Right. Maybe some sort of weapon, or at least like some Band-Aids or paper towels. I don't know. Right. But so he's done all that, and then the birds, kind of like what we were saying, this like sort of weird natural timer. They attack and then they subside. So then they hear them go away, right? A little bit of time has passed, and now this is one thing where there's so much talking earlier in the film that I actually wish once we're just maybe, I don't know, half an hour later, we're not really sure. It's just a little bit of time later. They're still in the living room. People are sleeping except for Melanie. I do kind of wish that maybe she and the mom or she and Mitch had a little conversation just to kind of make it feel not so like, okay, the birds attack, but then they go away, but then they attack again. Like spread it out a little touch. That would be something I would just add in, some little conversation about something. Maybe it would be good with her and the mom, or I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, then she hears that ominous flapping of the wings, which is so spooky, right? And I love how she grabs this massive flashlight. Maybe you should have that in your Halloween costume, Jeff. You need to have a massive, like arm length flashlight. And she grabs it and starts walking, and she checks on the lovebirds. But it's not them, because then she hears it again. I thought that was so spooky. They're just in their cage. They're the calmest birds around. So lovebirds are not affected by whatever plague is going on. FYI, everyone. And so she hears it, and I love the shot of the stairs lit up by her flashlight. It is so spooky. It's kind of ghosty, supernatural looking. And yes, this is probably the most typical horror movie thing in the whole movie is she goes upstairs to investigate. And I kind of wish or wonder, wouldn't it have been interesting if she realizes, where's Kathy? And like Kathy was upstairs, like getting something from her room or something. Right.
Like a reason besides the noise. Like, why are you going upstairs?
Yeah. Some other reason, like Kathy, like, oh, I'm here. I'm just getting my sweater. And it's like, okay, well, hurry up. You know, maybe she goes up there and then hears the flapping. And then maybe then she opens the door and sees that, you know, it's very Edward Scissorhands, although that hole in the roof is huge. But this is a big hole brought on by these birds. Oh, shit. Right. Yeah. And then she just sort of like reacts to that and flinches and shines the light, and the room is full of birds. And yes, they attack. Oh my gosh, brilliant. But yes, so that's when she can't get out of the room, right? The birds are messing with her, getting the door. And then when she falls down, she's basically like becoming unconscious, you know? Mitch can't even get in because then her body's blocking the door. It's pretty brilliant, right?
Yeah, he's got to really like get that door open because she's right there, right?
Yes. And so, but he is able to get her out, but he really drags her, which is another kind of creepy sight. Again, kind of accidentally funny, you know, but a creepy sight to see how just she's so flimsy, and he brings her downstairs. And one of my favorite shots in the whole movie is when she kind of wakes up, you know, on the couch, right? That beautiful shot where we're close on her, but then the camera pulls back and she's looking right at us as if we are a bird, you know, and she's fighting, but it's all just kind of like in her head. She's just, you know, obviously traumatized by what just happened a minute ago. That's a really cool shot. Yeah.
Well, and I thought too, when right before they get in the car, they open the door and she's like, no, you know, like, I'm like, because again, that's a genuine reaction after just being almost, you know, by all these birds, like, oh wait, now we're gonna go outside, you know, and into the car, and again, such a great moment of suspense.
Yes, all those birds. There were so many birds everywhere, on the roof, on the tree, on the ground. It's so interesting. So, I don't know, Jeff. What do you think? What's your theory? Why are they all of a sudden dormant? Like, they're still obviously lingering. They're ready for their next attack, but they let Mitch walk right past them. Some of them even squawk at him, but they don't get all riled up. So why do you think, what's your theory? I know we don't get, you know, a reason, but what's the reason in your mind? Do you have one?
It's funny. I don't think it's one of those movies where I let it wash over me and try not to think too hard about it. But maybe as we've been talking about it today, like maybe because they knew she was going to leave, maybe she really was the cause, and now that they know that they're gonna leave, she's gonna leave, they'll leave her alone. Or maybe you know, everyone loved Mitch, so maybe the birds loved Mitch. I don't know, like,
that's interesting. Wow, maybe honestly, they know that, okay, she's basically almost dead, you guys get out of here,
right?
And they really are there because of her, and this love story just can't happen, guys. Like, you cause destruction with this romance. You know, what would have been very Hitchcockian, and I kind of think a better ending is, what if Melanie really did die? Maybe not right away. They bring her down to the couch. She's struggling to survive. She is bloody, right? And what if she really does die? That would be so dark, right? She dies in like the last... That's really the last 5 minutes of the whole movie, right? She almost made it, but her dumb curiosity killed her. So that would have been interesting if it's just Mitch and Lydia and little sister Kathy. They're the ones in the car, and they just leave Melanie's body to the birds. That's kind of spooky, right?
I think they should. I like that a lot. I think they could have done. I feel like if they do remake that, one of those 4 people will die. Like, it's kind of like that car scene at the end of The Mist, like where they're sitting in the car.
Oh God.
And you know that's. I mean, that scene's terrible, but it's great.
But
yeah,
absolutely.
I think they could have done one more body count where somebody from that. You know, maybe mom gets
maybe
it.
Mom. If not Melanie, maybe mom. Not Kathy. Kathy can't go.
Not Kathy.
I mean, that'd be real dark. If they wanted to really shock us, you kill the kid, right? That'd be real dark. You see Annie's body, and then they're like, "Where's Kathy?" And then Kathy's like not far behind. Ooh, you just see like a kid's feet like behind the house. It's like, that'd be really dark. But yeah, I could see Mom going, because Mom, we know, has some interesting stuff going on with the ladies. No lady is good enough for her son. A little freaky, a little weird there. She's so obsessed with her boy Mitch, right? That would be interesting.
Little Oedipus.
Yes, little Oedipus for sure. That'd be interesting if she got it and maybe dies in like Melanie's arms or something,
Right.
But I agree. There needed to be one more death, and I just would love. This is why I think this could be okay for a remake, because I think you could do new things while keeping the DNA. Nowadays, oh my God, Jeff, if we made this movie, that whole ending scene would be much longer, where like it would be like Scream 2, it'd be like Scream 6, the ladder, the car scene in Scream 2. It'd be like, okay, is Kathy gonna make it, right? Or whatever the order is, it's Mitch, and then it's Kathy, and then it's Mom, and it's like, Mom's not gonna make it. That would be a more drawn out soup, because the birds are right there. I am sort of surprised Hitchcock didn't want to give us one last because it's tense, of course, but one last real scare that it's like, what if there's just a single bird made its way in the car, and they have to like kind of like shoo it away without exciting the others. I feel like there's something there.
Yeah, and I do like the way there is no other ending other than they just drive off, because we really don't know what their fate is, right?
Yeah,
they could be the minute they get out, they're like, whoop, pew, outside other set of birds.
You're so right.
Maybe everything's okay after that. I don't know.
Yeah, because we don't know. Like we were saying, we don't know if this is only in Bodega Bay, right? It could be everywhere, and they don't know that. It would be another movie, either made today or back then, might have ended it with that radio news station that he's able to play for a little bit, and they say like, the birds have subsided, it's okay right now. But it would be interesting if when he turns the car on again, it's playing, and as they drive off, we're not in the car with them, we're on that great wide with the birds, but we do hear the voice say like, we are getting reports of Santa Rosa, or like other neighboring towns, like birds are attacking there, so be careful, but again, that confirms something where this is very vague. We're not sure, and it works well for sure. And how funny, Santa Rosa, that's where Scream was shot. It's funny, this movie has some connections to other scary movies because of where it's shot. So Bodega Bay is where I Know What You Did Last Summer was shot. The opening scene, most of it was really shot in North Carolina, where it took place. I'm not sure if you know this already, Jeff, but I thought that was fun. The whole car crash scene, that was not far from where this movie was filmed, which I love. Of course, Scream was shot in Santa Rosa, not far from this, so it's fun to see. And this movie did lead to I didn't get a chance to see it, a really bad, apparently, TV Showtime sequel called The Birds 2: Land's End. And how funny, that takes place in Southport, North Carolina, where I Know What You Did Last Summer takes place. So weird little connections there. I thought that was fun horror
How old
trivia.
is the sequel? How old is that sequel?
The sequel came out March 94. So next year it'll be 30 years. Yeah. So I do want to check it out. I feel you've never seen that one, Jeff?
I haven't seen it. No.
Okay. I do kind of want to check it out. Apparently it is so bad. It is directed by Rick Rosenthal, who directed a few Halloween movies.
Yeah.
He directed Halloween 2 and Halloween Resurrection, which, at its core, there were some good ideas there, but not the best execution, as we know. But directed by him, but it's really directed by Alan Smithy, because he wanted his name off of it. He really hated it that badly, and I guess hated working with Showtime or the producers, whoever, that I guess it's credited as Alan Smithy. And Tippi Hedren does come back in the sequel, but not as Melanie, as a new character in a much more minor supporting role. And she is quoted in an interview somewhere long ago saying it was an absolutely terrible experience. So sorry, Tippi. But it's funny. Did you know Tippi, you might have seen this somewhere, and I forget where exactly I saw it, but I know she did in like the 90s. Is she a big like animal advocate? I think she is. Doesn't she?
Yeah, she is.
Right?
Yeah. I read that somewhere too.
And I feel like that's why she kind of plays herself in that movie I Heart Huckabees that I love.
Oh my God, I love that movie. Oh my gosh.
You got to come back for that when we talk about that for its anniversary. Such a weird movie. But
so
I feel like she plays herself because I know they're talking about like land and animal activism.
The swamp.
Yes, right. So, but apparently she would do a lot of subpar movies that paid decently to fund her activism, which is admirable. But so that's why, she's still alive, but she hasn't really done many good things, I guess, in the last few decades. And I guess it's just because she basically took any job that was given to her.
Right.
So I guess The Birds 2 was one of them. Here's a little cameo from a movie-loving friend of mine, Brian Tyler, who's a big fan of The Birds and The Birds 2.
Hi, this is Brian. So obviously, The Birds is one of my favorite horror films of all time. I'm not going to say much about that because I'm sure you guys are going to cover it just fine. But The Birds 2 is actually the first one I saw. And I remember just thinking it's so cool as a kid. As an adult, it is so boring for the first hour. I get what they were going for, because in the original, it's like kind of a drama or romantic comedy for a while. 2 tried to be a family drama, but then once the bird attacks start happening and the random rednecks shooting guns and the random explosions and Tippi Hedren, trying to add some class, it's just, I think it's delightful. I wouldn't say I love it, but yeah, I kind of love it. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I don't know. Call me crazy, but I'm open to a remake of The Birds. I think there's more to explore. There's new set pieces we can add to this where it doesn't need to be better than the original. It can just be a new take, and I think that could be fun, right?
Yeah,
new
Tippi could be...
Right.
Yeah, Tippi could be. She could have a little supporting moment. Maybe she's like the bird lady in the beginning.
Yes.
Or
she could be the bird lady in the beginning, or the bird lady at the diner who knows all about the birds. That's a fun role, right?
Yeah. Well, I did make a note with Tippi because I know, this was her first gig, and you can kind of tell. I don't know if they shot it sequentially. I want to say they did, because I feel like the acting in the beginning is not as strong as it is when she's getting pelted and attacked towards the end.
Yep.
It's just the way, you can tell she's really like, the way she's holding her mouth and, looking at the camera.
She wants us to know she's thinking. She's like,
right.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Like, it puts the pen here. Like,
yes, I do love the pencil in her ear. I have to say, that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
The whole beginning where she's pretending, she's just going with it, where she's pretending she works there, but then he's pretending that he doesn't know her. It's like, whoa, twist. That is cute. I have to say, I do like that whole opening, and then the birds flying around. Yeah, you do bring up a good point, especially in her driving and the motorboat and some of the scenes where she's not speaking. She really wants us to know that, like, well, I'm thinking of this, and then I changed my mind, and I'm thinking of that now. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And Mark, I just thought about this, how like, okay, another Psycho comparison. We have Jamie Lee Curtis and her mom. Why am I blanking on her name?
Janet Leigh.
So Janet Leigh spawns Jamie Lee Curtis, and Tippi has Melanie Griffith, right?
Yes.
So like
and
another...
the two of them are good friends. Melanie Griffith and Jamie Lee Curtis are like best buds. I feel like
I think they were at an Instagram picture together recently. Yeah. So I just made that connection, but
although Melanie never really did, like, I mean, maybe she did. I don't know Melanie Griffith's filmography that well, but I feel like she never really did a fun scary movie, right?
No, she did Pacific Heights. That was she did a thriller, a good like early. Yeah, she did some good thrillers. I remember that one. Yeah, I forget who else is in that, but I remember the poster very well. Michael Keaton.
Oh yeah, Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the end of the world.
Are the birds gonna eat us, Mommy?
Get yourselves guns and wipe them off the face of the earth.
That would hardly be possible.
Mitch, don't!
The 5 continents of the world contain more than 100 billion birds.
And there's also some stuff with Tippi. I know in Hitchcock, like there's a movie.
Let's talk about that. I haven't seen that movie, The Girl.
I haven't either.
On HBO.
I think I don't want stuff to get ruined, right? Isn't like, we know the past couple of years things start to get ruined once we know the truth.
Sad. I know. I'm able to, for the most part, not look past it. Obviously, you know, the stuff behind the scenes that's bad obviously needs to be talked about, and of course it's important to know. I am able to kind of separate that and still enjoy the movie or show for what it is, and sort of still, like, you know, Scream and Buffy and, you know, these different producers and creators, you know, being terrible people, we know. But I'm able to still kind of appreciate everyone else's work involved. But I know what you mean. It does sadly muddy the legacy of these things. But she did work on Marnie with him and Sean Connery only a year later that came out.
Right.
So, you know, I don't know if that was a contract thing, if she was locked into it. I'm sure someone out there knows and is like, yeah, you idiots. So I'll have to, like, you know, we'll research and I'll post about that. But yeah, I am curious about that movie because I know he was especially not kind to her. But from what you remember, Jeff, it wasn't like he was that bad with Janet Leigh in Psycho, right? I think maybe because she was more famous, maybe he didn't treat her so badly. I feel like they got along better.
Right? Yeah, I don't think there was any bad blood between them.
Yeah, but with Tippi, there was
something that happened. Yeah.
Some abusive behavior, and it might be because she was a newcomer. Yeah, that sucks.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have some homework. Maybe we should watch that. Was it called That Girl?
I think it's just called The Girl. And someone on IMDb in like a review said, anything with that boring of a title doesn't need to be watched. And I'm like, the title is a little like The Girl. Okay. You know. I did see the Hitchcock movie, which I feel like you probably did too. The one with Anthony Hopkins. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But I don't really, it was fun. It's not very memorable because it's very comedic. I do remember it was fun, but I don't think they really touch on any of the darker stuff that he might have done with his actresses, right? Am I remembering that right?
Yeah, is that the one with Helen Mirren too?
Yes, Helen Mirren's his wife. Yep, and a lot of, I think, Scarlett Johansson. A lot of actors are in it. I know it had an all-star cast, but yeah, I have heard those sad stories about how working on this with them for Tippi especially was not great, which I'm sure already it was a hard shoot with all of this stuff, right? All these birds, because apparently a lot of those birds are real. Apparently
she gets
$200,000 worth of them are fake birds, but a lot of them were caught. I read like certain groups of birds were caught at the San Francisco garbage dump, just like circling the garbage. So like these are many of them are real birds. So that had to be crazy, right?
All at once, the birds were everywhere.
Why don't you all go home? Lock your doors and windows.
Did you get the windows in the attic? When do you think they'll come?
What happens when you run out of wood?
I don't know.
You don't know. When will you know? When we're all dead.
So let me go back to cutting the last 10 pages of the screenplay. So, like we were saying, the ambiguous ending. Hitchcock wanted it ambiguous. Apparently in the earlier draft of the script, some sources say, I guess, there was more of a finite ending. But he wanted it cut, and I thought this was interesting. He wanted the film to end without the end card, you know, which is funny how that stopped long ago, but back in the day they wanted you to know, like, okay, it's over, right? But he was forced to include one by the studio. They wanted him to include one, so I thought that was kind of funny. And like I said, $200,000 were spent on the creation of mechanical birds, but many of them were real, so I thought that was pretty wild. And it's funny because I guess if you look closely, you know, like that epic playground, the jungle gym scene. Oh my gosh, talk about suspense. When she goes to check on Kathy and the kids are singing that creepy, weird song. Now, na, 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 na. It's like, what? So they're in school with Annie. So Tippi's like, all right, well, Kathy's fine. I'm going to go sit by the jungle gym and have a smoke. And immediately and silently, again, Hitchcock is so good with the silence here because we know in Psycho, we rarely get silence, right? So with the birds, we see that one crow, that one bird, and then a couple more, and Tippi has no idea. And then that shot of then she sees one flying, and the camera follows it. She follows it with her eyes to a whole slew of birds behind her on the jungle gym. Perfection. That is another scene that I love. So good. So if you look closely, you can see not every bird on the jungle gym is moving. So I'm sure some of them are robots or, you know, stuffed animals or something. But it made sense to, obviously, you can't have that many real ones. You just sprinkle the real ones in there, you know?
Right.
So that was pretty cool.
What was another quick shot? One of my, like, we're talking about scenes, but like there's one shot that I love. It's that aerial shot of the birds, where you get the bird's eye view of. I think, is it the gas station scene?
I think it is the gas station scene
blowing up.
Yeah, I think we see it from their bird's eye view before all the chaos, because they start to come into frame, which is so good. And then we see it again, that same angle high up with the line of fire and all that, like kind of post explosion. Yeah.
It's funny, like Annie.
Yeah, tell me about Annie.
I love, you mentioned briefly about her death scene. I love a death scene where there's always 1 foot on the stairs.
It's so
like there's always
so
that one
freaky, right?
Yeah, it's like they were so close to getting in through the door, but they nope, they fall back and there's 1 leg still on the stair.
It looks like inhuman. It almost looks like, I don't know, something in my brain just immediately thinks, oh my God, she has a broken leg, but she doesn't, right? It's just that the leg is just still up on that step. It's a creepy image for sure. Yeah. And how we don't see her face in that shot. So we know by her hair in the house, it's Annie, but they don't show her face. And then Mitch even hides her like eyes. So only Mitch knows what she looks like. Yeah, that's a spooky and sad reveal, because Annie's a cool character. She is sexy. She's got the deeper voice. You know, it's kind of sad that like the only dark-haired woman dies. She's sort of like the bad girl, you know, all the blondes are still intact, you know? Yeah, it's interesting because like I said, I got sort of like a little bit of a lesbian vibe from her. Even the way she's dressed, it's very different than Melanie, although we know they live in 2 different worlds, right? School teacher in this bay and then socialite in the big city. So yeah, they're dressed differently. They sound different. They have a, you know, I like their dynamic. I think it's a super fun, you know, Nev and Denise, I guess, if you will. Right?
Yeah. Like she has a backstory, right? Doesn't she say she met Mitch and she moved to the island, or she moved to Bodega Bay and then she ended up just staying there and, you know, teaching and
she ended up staying there, but Lydia, his mom, just did not like her. And I was going to say, it's like, sad that Lydia just turns these women away. It's like she's just so kind of toxic. But that at the end, once they make it to the safety of the car, did you notice that Tippi and Lydia and Jessica Tandy, they're like kind of holding each other in the back, and they like have a moment.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you passed the test. You're good for my son. You know, you've been through hell, so you're okay in my book, you know?
Right. If we survive this, you guys can get married. It's okay. Yeah, I support
exactly.
it. And I don't think we taught like the scene with the kids running down from the pool. I mean, that's pretty terrifying.
Yes, talk about that.
Like, the idea, good thing I didn't watch this as a kid, because I probably would have this, you know, this terrible fear of birds. But I mean, they really make it seem like those birds are going to town on those kids, you know, just pecking and running. And I can kind of tell like they're not really going anywhere, just because of technology. But no, I don't know. I have to say, like, for a 1960s, you know, thriller, I mean, this is still up there, you know, right up there with Psycho. Like, it's probably it's my second favorite.
Is it your second favorite Hitchcock?
Hitchcock movie.
Yeah. I would say it's my second favorite as well. But like I said, I actually haven't really seen, or like, I don't remember, because it's been so long since I've seen his other ones. So I need to really do like a whole Hitchcock marathon, because I know we have Vertigo, we have North by Northwest. I haven't seen Marnie. I'm now super curious to now check out
Marnie's
Tippi with Sean Connery. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, actually, do I own that or not? I think I think by like the bundle on Apple TV a couple years ago. I was like, sure, why not? It's $50 or something. But that one's actually pretty good. It's darker, and there's lots of things with color in that movie. But she's definitely, you know, you could tell she'd probably taken an acting class or two, I think, by the time that gets filmed.
That's so funny. She got better. That's good. Well, she did win a Golden Globe for this movie, so maybe that kind of kicked her into high gear. Like, let me like really do the. All right, I'm a star now. I need to take this seriously. She won Most Promising Newcomer back when the Golden Globes had that award, because I don't think they have that now. So yeah, she tied with some other actresses for that one.
They're coming! They're coming!
And I agree. That scene, I can't believe we didn't talk about it earlier. It is so good. And how these birds are pecking these kids. And again, I think if a remake was done today, when Melanie and Kathy grab her one friend who's now bloody and they just hide in this car, I think that would be a whole set piece as well. I think, you know, that could be something for sure. And then they just go away finally, you know. So yeah, definitely some really amazing, brutal, vicious sequences. It was nominated only for one Oscar, Jeff. Psycho had a few nominations. This, I guess, didn't impress people that as much as maybe it impressed us. It was nominated for Best Special Effects, rightfully so.
Okay.
But it lost to the only other nominee. There were only 2 nominees. It lost to Cleopatra, which was a huge hit in 1963, which makes sense. I believe, I saw online, I'm pretty sure that Cleopatra was the #1 movie of 1963. So it makes sense. That was a big deal, you know?
Have you seen that actually?
I've only seen clips. I've never seen the whole thing. And I know, speaking of remakes, I know for the longest time they wanted Angelina Jolie to be in the new Cleopatra. Do you remember that? Like years ago, that was a thing. About? Yeah, that was a thing. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
The original?
I actually have not seen it. No.
With Elizabeth Taylor.
Oh, now why would he do that? Most peculiar. What on earth?
Yeah, I think that's it. Just, you know, if you see birds, just run and duck and cover, right?
Oh my God, yeah. If you hear those wings flapping, you better get to moving.
Just get
honey.
No
Get
windows, no phone booths,
Yes.
no upstairs bedrooms.
Not even a door. Forget it. Don't even. They'll get through the door, guys. They're beaks. These beaks. My God, it's so good. It's so scary. I know. It's great. I love it. So thank you, Jeff, for coming back. Always such a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks so much.
You'll be back later this year, maybe, if you want, for The Exorcist. That's going to turn.
Oh my God.
That came out in 1973, Christmas. Isn't that such a twisted Christmas movie? And I guess we're going to get the new one later this year. I think that's coming out in October, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. We'll probably have to dedicate maybe like 2 hours for that.
Okay. I mean... But yeah, so keep that in your back pocket. Everybody, Jeff will probably be back later this year. He's back with a vengeance. He wasn't on the show in 2021 or 2022, but 2023, he's all over it.
Woo! Watch out.
Yes. Horror and sexual thrillers are right up his alley, and it's a big year for them.
That's what I do.
Thank you for listening to or watching this episode of Release Date Rewind. And thank you, Jeff Bugajski, for coming back and chatting with me about the birds. You know, poor Tippi Hedren really was assaulted in multiple ways during the making of this film, from Hitchcock trying to kiss her and he was obsessing over her, to her being repeatedly pecked by live birds when she thought they were going to be fake in the scenes. So if you'd like to learn more about the making of this film, Tippi wrote a memoir called Tippi, and she talks about this there, of course. Plus, there's the HBO movie The Girl, which I finally watched this week, and I liked it. It's very interesting to see the recreation of the making of this movie and how hard it was. Also, thank you to Brian Tyler for adding your thoughts and sending me your clip. Find me on Instagram at Release Date Rewind to see bonus content and more trivia about this movie. Plus, I'll post there about what my next movie will be. Video highlights of our conversation will soon be on Portland Media Center's website and YouTube page if you'd like to check that out. Thank you, PMC. Thanks, Greg Clements, for the logo, Kyle Motzinger for the theme song, and be careful out there, everyone.